Hi, welcome to Computer Visualization for the spring of 2023. I have a nice shot of the campus in the spring or summertime here. I think that's makes a nice starting screen for the course. We're in the middle of winter now, and we have this kind of working through the course and really kind of coming out of it with the hopes of winter ending and spring coming. So let's get started a little bit with the course. I'll go to a slideshow, which is typically how I like to present. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. We'll go through some outlines about the functionings of the course. We'll look at the syllabus, and then I'll go through step by step of all the projects we're going to do for the semester. So at the end of this relatively short lecture, you'll have a really good idea about where the course is going to go and where we're going to get started with. So a little bit about myself. I'm not an architect. I'm a designer. I have 12 years of architectural product design experience consulting for companies. But I've also done product design, trade show exhibits. I think a whole bunch of things that bring, for me, useful experiences to the teaching environment. So here's, for an example, a sculpture I made while I was consulting for rigidized metals. It's both a facade, but it's a fabricated piece, and I went through the process of designing and having that fabricated and installed. So I typically have you fill out a survey. So if we're in class, we'll do this survey. This gives me a good handle about where the class is made up, where they're coming from, what experience you've had with things. And it's a good place to start our dialogue in person. Now, the setup of the course is really maybe a little bit different than you're used to. We have a Tuesday lecture and a Wednesday or Thursday lab, depending on which lab you signed up for. And Professor V teaches one of the labs, so that's the only time you may have lab without me as the principal instructor for this course. But he's a great instructor, so you'll get you may have a better experience than you would if you have that Wednesday lab. So the makeup of our Tuesday lecture is I'll generally like to have discussions and talk about content that's pertinent to our projects and computer visualization, just learning how to use computers and technology in general. And then I like to add in what I call an active learning or an in-class exercise. And this is really something you do on your own, but the idea is to kind of investigate one specific technique that wouldn't necessarily require a whole lab to do. And we have 10 of these through the course, and they really add to your body or skill of knowledge about using computers for architecture. And then on Wednesday and Thursday, we have our lab, and our lab is really a bunch of video clips that I've created of working through projects, and then I'll explain those in detail. So let's take a minute and review the syllabus. I have that clicked so it's hyperlinked. It's an introductory course that examines the practical and theoretical issues of computer as a tool for design and production of architectural concepts. I won't read through all of this. You're welcome to. The course will undoubtedly explain all of this as we move through it. It's important to know that this has no prerequisite for it. We start out, we're going to stick in what's called the Building Information Modeling Environment, our CAD tools. But it has no requirements that you have any knowledge for this. We'll take you from zero to as complete as we can within the 15-week time period. So we have learning objectives, to be able to construct architectural models, use lighting and texture, create or present your projects, create details from them, and all of that's going to be more outlined. If we were to kind of explain these without the kind of visuals, they probably won't help to stick in your memory. But our lab, I've really tried to organize this class to be as simple and fun as possible. It's really, in many ways, a no-brainer kind of course. You just do the projects, you learn the skills, and you keep moving from one step to the next. It's organized in 14 modules, which is basically on the weekly program. For those of you who are wondering about computers, a computer is required for the course, but you could actually get through the whole course without even having a computer because we have a computer lab available for us. It's in room 428, and I'm told this year we have 16 workstations in there, and it's available by keycard access, so you should be able to get in any time of the day or night. Some of you may have Apple computers, and that might require some special configuration in order to get it to run properly, and I will have resources, and you can email me for specific help on that. if you do have that that piece of software. I strongly don't recommend that you purchase an Apple computer for this program, the program of architecture in general, but that's just my opinion, and you might want to talk with me and others about that. We'll go through how to download the software, but the basic idea is that you go to the Autodesk site. We provide a link for that, and you download it and install it once you've given your ID for it. Then this has the module, the outlines of the modules. We don't do any printing in this course, so you don't need to think about money or expenses for that. There's also no textbook required. Our grading is very straightforward. I grade you on the project modules and the in-class modules we do, and then I add in the idea of class participation, preparation, and other assessments of that. And the grading comes back very simple. From 7, typically from 7 to 10 as far as the completion of a project, with 10 being you did everything correctly, wrote a good narrative about what you did, and then it slides down with ideas of less completeness. And with the in-class project, they're all graded together, and I'll give you a maximum of 3 points for completing each one of those. Extra help is available. The idea for this course is everyone is successful, so we'll go out of our way to make sure that happens. And so, and I'll discuss more of that as we move through the lecture. You're expected to be in attendance for the lectures and the labs. The lectures I really push because it's our time together to have discussion and dialogue. I think it's very rewarding, and it sits kind of outside of just the normal experiences of what the course is. I want to punch up the idea of not cheating. I catch cheaters, and I really am disappointed for it. We're in a professional program, and the professional standards really require us to take that idea of being authentic about our work and honest about the way we work in general. And so please keep that in mind, diligently paying attention to people who might be taking cheats or shortcuts. There's the basic FERPA in here. Special needs. We're always, the idea is that we're here to accommodate you and make it possible for you to succeed. And that can be run the gamut from the whole host of just problems that we all have or face at one point in our life. And when they meet with the idea of achieving in an academic setting, like I say, we're here to help and make sure that everyone has success. So I think that's enough on the general overline. I would encourage you to take a time to read through the syllabus for more details on it. So let's just take a look at kind of what's going on here with the course. This year we're moving from Blackboard, which was a learning management system, LMS, to a new one called Brightspace. And this happened, and I'm actually pretty disappointed with it. I think that it takes up a lot more screen space and has other kinds of issues with it. But this was kind of mandated in the SUNY system that everyone moved to this as they abandoned the Blackboard site. So I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to make this the most effective with some of the shortcomings that I really thought that Brightspace had with it. And so one of the things that I did right out of the gate was to construct the site so that it had a sub-site to it. So you can navigate through the course, through the content directly in Brightspace. But if you click out or right-click on anything to go to another topic, you can open up a completely independent program. And that's my, let me see if I don't think I have this hyperlink, but let me just escape out of this for a minute and show you what it looks like. So here is the course at my link. It's my domain, rogerschroeder.com/educational resources. And then just to get in, you need at least to know CV1.php. And that'll take you to this site. And then we have the course materials, the calendar, all of the things that are required for the course, and then all the modules of the projects that we do in the course. And so this should be a pretty efficient way for you to move through and open up things. And so just with the organization of content, each module has objectives for learning. We have a video lecture content. And then we have the project video that happens in the lab. And CV1 is a little different than most of them because it doesn't have the in-class section. So I'm going to jump to another grid here, CV2, where we have objectives, the lecture. You'll notice under the lecture that if you click on this link here, it will open up all the slides that I'm showing you for any lecture that we're going through. And then anything that's hyperlinked in those you can go to. And then we have the in-class learning project. All of these probably have playlists associated with them, so they're done in YouTube. But over on the right-hand side here, excuse me, is the playlist of all of the tasks that will happen inside of that project. And then finally, so each one of these has 3. And so here's the third one. This is the actual lab project you do. And many times I will put extra things to download. Like for instance, we're going to add texture to this model. So we'll have a plank or a brick texture that we might download. So that pretty much covers the utilization of this. I'm very interested going forward to see if that's going to be an effective way for us to use or work through the course. And I'm always welcome to comments that you might have going forward with that. So here's the, and this is available on the Blackboard or on the site that I just located you to under the first tab. It is the schedule. I'm showing you the other schedule because over here of a summer course that we ran, so that you can realize that this course can run in a very much compacted mode, and it can also run online. It doesn't necessarily need to have an instructor with it, other than the instructor who's in the videos that I create for you. So we're going to go through from January to May, and through a whole sequence of, so the way the chart is laid out, we'll go through, this is the title of the lecture. It goes with the CV meaning computer visualization. And then the in-class learning activities are all labeled here 1 through 10. So this is a way for you to keep track of all of the projects and things we need to do. Really not that difficult because we're going to go through it 1 week at a time and go through it in a linear fashion. Lab status means these are the updates of the videos that I've created. So if it says 2023, it means it's a new video I've created this year. If it doesn't have 2023, it means that it hasn't been updated. It's an older video. That doesn't really mean much other than it was done probably in Revit 2019 or 2020. But that really won't. I may update these depending on whether I get time during the course. So once again, the drop down, the modules work. Here's all of the 15 modules that we go through. I do video instruction of it. I've already told you as we went through the hands-on or the last exploration of the website that these are in video playlist. These are YouTube videos, so you have a link always in a YouTube video to go directly to YouTube to watch these videos. And I want to point out a couple of things in YouTube that are really useful. One is I've recorded these all in 1080p. That's high definition, which means they should be razor sharp and easy to read anything on the screen. And many times it will be set to auto. And if you go under the little gear and set the check mark for 1080p for high definition, that will automatically always make it snap to the highest quality while you're watching that video. So if anything's blurry, you can make it very sharp, or you can make it sharper, should I say, by ensuring that you have the setting done. The other thing is that sometimes I'm talking slower than you may move through the project, and or vice versa. I may be talking faster than you can move through the project. And YouTube also has under that gear a chance to change the playback speed, and you can either speed it up or reduce it down. And in general, for watching lectures, I can recommend you can watch at much faster paces than normal speed. You could at least go 1.5 times or maybe even 1.25 times. At least that's how I find watching most videos. Just an idea about file naming that makes things easier for me. When you submit a file, if you put the name of the project, you'll complete a project in the software. I'll ask you to make a PDF or a JPEG of it. I'll tell you what those are as we get through. But then I'll ask you to maybe think about this. Make sure you try to do this, is write your last name and then CV1 if it's the first project, obviously CV2, etc. And then the other example is your last name and then IC for in-class and 1 through 10, which is the series that we have for the in-class assignments. Setting up your workspace. I've intended this course to run in a way that you would have a computer, either your laptop and be in a lab with another computer, or an iPad, or in many cases it's your phone, or you could plug a second monitor into your computer. But the idea primarily being that you can watch the video on one screen and then do the activities on the other screen. And I think that's a really effective and efficient way to do it. It turns out, I find out that most students, amazingly, are working on their phones watching these videos and seem to have no problem with it. And a lot of that has to do with your better eyesight than us older people. One thing I want to indicate to you right away, if you've never used this kind of design software, especially Revit, which will be the primary software we use, it essentially needs to have a mouse with it. You can't use a trackpad to navigate through these things. It would be way too painful. I've found students who've tried to do that and just got into a whole host of discouragement and trouble trying to work through the software assignments. And then the fun side of it is that there's always extra monitors, or should be extra monitors available. But this is my kind of setup, just to give you an idea. This is a little different now currently, but I usually have about 3 monitors available to me, and one of them is really huge. It's like a 32-inch monitor. And the reason for that is it's just a much more efficient, to have all that extra space, it's much more efficient for workflow. I try to make, I enjoy teaching this course. I like making sure that everyone's successful. I try to make myself as absolutely available as possible during the semester. I don't really get a lot of questions, so I'm usually not overburdened. But if you have questions, I ask you to email me right away while you're going through an assignment, any kind of question you might have. And when you do, I would ask you to submit the file that you're working on, if it's a software issue, so that I could take a look at it and not have to ask you to send it to me so I can take a look at it. Please, I encourage you right away to get into the habit of contacting me if you need any help. But with that idea, there's another concept, and that is we try to get along in our learning environment with as little help as possible, because there's not always an instructor around when we get out into the real world. And so we want to develop habits of being able to find and explore knowledge on our own. With that, right now, we're in a really fortunate situation that we have connections to LinkedIn Learning, which is an extension of LinkedIn, the business kind of Facebook software. And I'll explain that more if there are any questions in class. But there's all kinds of ways to learn all the software that you might be interested in architecture. And that's a long list of items, and there's a bunch of resources available at LinkedIn Learning. Another source that I want to tip you off to is just YouTube videos. There is an amazing amount of materials prepared by people and put out on the internet for free. And so getting in the habit of just specifically Googling things, a problem in Revit, you'll probably many times find some kind of a solution to it. And then also you get the added benefit of finding all of the other things that this person has done, and maybe finding or learning about things that you didn't know you really wanted to learn about. We also have many times, and I don't know if it's happening this semester, but I'll just put it on your radar, is structured learning help. This is help that's set up outside of the course for other people to help you along. And this really has to do with people who are struggling just with the transition to an academic environment that may be stressful, and they need a little extra guidance and support. And so, I try to provide as much as I can within the course, but there are also even resources outside of this to help you find success. So I'll break here, and then we'll go into some of the primary objectives of the course and what we're going to do.